Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the latest edition of the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar Podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Elyachar, the chief content producer and writer of jakestake.com, a pop culture entertainment news website. Before we get started on today's podcast, if you're watching this on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you're listening to this on our audio versions, please give us a 5-star rating and please subscribe as well. I'm very excited to welcome this actor and musician to the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar Podcast. For many of you, you might know him as Benny Ware from the My Babysitter is a Vampire franchise, and also J.B. Cox on the Hardy Boys. And as of this recording, he has over 144,000 Instagram followers, and in this November, he's releasing a new album called Plot Armors. Please help me welcome Atticus Dean to the podcast.
Woo! There he is. Woo!
Thank you so much, Atticus.
Thanks for having me, Jake. Glad to be here.
I'm glad to have you here. And what do you think of the intro?
The intro was great. I feel like I don't deserve any of it. I mean, I clapped for myself, and I didn't even feel like I deserved that. But you said some very nice things, and I really appreciate it.
Awesome. So let's get started with our conversation, shall we? So when did you get interested in performing, and how did that passion evolve into desire to pursue a career in the entertainment industry?
When did I get interested in performing? I guess probably as a kid in elementary school. I seemed to always have a knack for entertaining my family and my friends and doing wild faces at the end of a table and getting laughs. I think that was the thing. As soon as I was a little boy discovering that getting laughs was like a good thing and a source of dopamine, I just kind of jumped headfirst into it. And I was like, this is the best. This is what life's all about. And then started to do a bunch of like plays in elementary school. Had a great time doing that. And then went the music route. I wanted to be a rock star. I wanted to be a drummer in a rock band. That was like the dream. And then that didn't exactly pan out because around the same time, professional acting like became a thing. It just kind of happened in my life. I don't really remember all the steps that it took to get here. I think I got like discovered by somebody down the street who moved in to my neighborhood. And then within 2 weeks, I was in a show. So it's all been kind of a blur since I was about 15. But what was the second part of the question?
How did the passion evolve and desire to pursue a career in the entertainment industry?
Yeah, I mean, that was just kind of it. The dopamine hit from getting laughs and seeing smiles on people's faces from entertaining them, I think was the easiest evolution into something you could build a career off of. It was like I was addicted, and as soon as I found it, you could make money doing it. Sometimes, if people wanted you to, that was crazy, and it took over, and it just kind of absorbed my life. And I was like, I guess this is it. This is where the passion's going.
I totally agree. I was a high school theater geeking myself. From 5th grade to 12th grade, so I love the performing arts.
So you get it, exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. So much of my audience first discovered you when you portrayed Benny Ware in the comedy horror franchise My Babysitter is a Vampire. So how did working on this franchise help you grow as an actor and prepare you to continue working in the entertainment world?
So that show, when did I do that? That was like 16 to, I think, 18, just turning 19. And I mean, that show was probably the biggest swing and biggest practice test in terms of how to really be a professional. It was my first time as a lead actor on a project. I wasn't just coming in for like a day or two and saying a line and then leaving. So you learned what it was like to go into work every day for, 3 to 4 months and shoot 13 hours of a television program. And you just learned, I mean, I was a kid, so my metabolism was really good, but you learned to just kind of take care of yourself as best you could and know your stuff going in on the day and always just be open and listening and collaborative. I definitely noticed a marked shift in like the actor who I was going into that show. I was just kind of didn't really know what I was doing. Meek, I still don't really know what I'm doing. I really don't know what I'm doing at all. But at least that show was, I think, like the healthiest place to not know what you're doing and still just try shit and throw shit against the wall and hope that it sticks. And ever since, it just kind of paved the way for how I've formed into a performer going forward. I don't know.
That's awesome. Now, just in case, Atticus, just to let you know, it's amazing that you go into one franchise to another, from one horror franchise to a suspenseful thriller franchise, which is one of the biggest franchises of all time. It's the Hardy Boys. So you played JB Cox. I'm so sorry, on the Hulu adaptation of the Hardy Boys. So, what attracted you to join the Hardy Boys franchise?
So he wasn't in any of the books. He was kind of made up as like a DB Cooper type for the sake of the show. But the attraction was already there from the medium, the book series that my older brother, I think, read all of them, and he was just in love with them growing up. And so they were always in our house, and I read a couple, and I thought that they were very sweet and fun and playful. And but in terms of being attracted to the show, I got an audition that was very sudden. It was very like, we need you to put yourself on tape for this tomorrow. Also, just so you know, you're auditioning for a 60-year-old fisherman. And I'm like, cool. Why? I don't what am I doing? What do you mean? I don't know. Why is this urgent? Why? I'm not going to get this. I'm not 60. I don't know how to fish. This isn't going to work. But it was still imperative. It was, they really want to see you for it. And so I sat down and I did the take once, and I went, I guess send that. And the person I did the take with was like, do you want to do it again? Maybe more old fisherman like? And I was like, no. And they said, why? And I said, because I'm not that old. I can't be a fisherman. I know how to do me. And then the next day they said, okay, could you come in for a fitting? You're going to be on the show. And then it was revealed that I guess the character had gone through a myriad of rewrites and reconceptions, and they boiled it down to this kind of vague 20-something to 30-something lovable rogue that I guess came across in my old fisherman performance. So kind of from the get-go, it was a whirlwind. But after the first season, I guess none of us really knew if there were going to be more, but it's such a tight cast. It's such a great group of people that it's kind of rare going on to a project where you really feel like everybody cares, like everybody top to bottom just really cares about putting out a good product. And that same level of collaboration as, say, Vampire. But, from the cast down, Rowan Campbell, Alex Elliott, everybody, and the showrunner and creator Jason Stone, it's a really nice thing to be a part of and to play a significant part in. It's been a lot of fun.
That's great to hear, and not to mention the fact that you get to play on a Hulu adaptation, which is pretty cool. There's a lot of, it's definitely in the streaming world as well. So, in your humble opinion, how has JB grown as a character since its first season?
That's a good question. First season, I think he was very neutral, kind of bordering on villainous. I guess chaotic neutral was probably the best way to put him in D&D terms. But he learns kind of throughout that first season, what it means to like really care about these kids, and it gives him hope, and it makes him pause. Like, he doesn't really know what the right thing to do is anymore. You see at the end of the first season, like, he makes a decision that really sewers the guys, and like, he's not happy about it. He's very much like, I don't feel good about this. Maybe this isn't what it's all about. Maybe money isn't the answer, because it's all for money. And throughout the second season, he's way more just kind of on their team, although he's still got his fingers in a lot of pies. And now this third season that we're shooting right now, I mean, you'll have to watch anyway, but I think the arc is really just about a guy finding reasons to live beyond the financial necessities that his life has kind of angled him towards. Like, he's always been a desperate guy, but at least he seems to be finding love and a sense of family when it comes to these kids, especially little Joe. It's very nice.
That's great to hear. Like, here's the thing: what shows like Once Upon a Time has taught us about is never judge a bad guy by their story, and our heroes are not always like have halos.
Yeah, some of our heroes are actually bad. I don't know. Some of them I don't like. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah, like sympathetic. Like, for example, I never thought I would say I would sympathize with the evil queen, Rumpelstiltskin, Maleficent,
Yeah.
and Jafar.
Yeah. You know, in elementary school, I ended up playing the evil queen in Snow White. That was a play that we did. And I think I was the most sympathetic character of the bunch. I was getting roses thrown at me and tomatoes, like a healthy dose of both, because you got to keep a balanced diet. But I feel you. Every villain is the hero in their own story. I think that's what we're trying to get at here.
And not to mention the fact that it's not just like with other characters like the Wicked Witch of the West. There's things like Wicked, and also with Once, you can say, okay, they're bad, but there's the reason behind them.
Yes, they were bullied as a kid.
Absolutely,
that's all you need.
Alrighty, so what are some of the challenges that you face breaking into the entertainment industry and continue as you continue to grow, and how have you overcome those obstacles?
Challenges. I mean, lots, tons. The main one, I think, being, I mean, everybody, when if you're talking about acting, it's like, oh wow, it must be really hard getting used to like rejection, getting used to people saying no. That would be the hardest thing in the world. Whereas I think that's kind of like the first thing you learn upon making the jump into something professional, is that, like, yeah, 98% of things aren't going to go your way. It's the flip side of that I think is the hardest to really wrap your head around, because I'm somebody who, I like having control in my life. I like having control of it. And lo and behold, I've kind of centered on a career where you have very little of that. There's not a lot of that at your disposal. You have control over yourself, your output, the work you do, the time you put into it, your own method, all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to, putting yourself on tape for something, auditioning in a room, you go in, you do it, you go out, and that's it. That's like your job is done until maybe you hear something. And that took me a couple of years to kind of like take the ego out of the whole process. I think that was probably the biggest challenge, and it's never fully gone away. Some things, of course, come down the pipe that you're just like, oh my God, I would kill to get this specific part, and then it doesn't go your way, and you go like, well, them's the breaks. You shake it off like you'd shake off anything else. So it's not the easiest thing in the world, but I think that's step one into having a healthy mindset in this business, I think, maybe.
Absolutely. It's like you're building your own story. You're building...
And other people are writing it.
I'm writing my own story, my friend.
God bless you, Jacob.
Alrighty, let's do this. Let's talk about your new album, Plot Armor. How long did it take you to create this album from inception to release? Because I'm going to be honest with everybody, Atticus is the first guest that I've had that has written compositions, not just without your voice.
Yes. I'm the first instrumentalist on the show. Holy moly. These are, I was about to say big shoes to fill, but I guess they're just my shoes because I'm filling them and they're all mine. That's crazy. The whole process, I guess, because the thing is, I'll kind of write or come up with one piece. That's kind of how the ball starts rolling, because that one piece will then, upon fleshing it out and adding more sounds and really structuring it into something borderline listenable, it'll branch out into however many different other ideas of thematic similarity. And so what ended up happening was, I think I recorded something, the first track, which I released, We Will Endure the Long Nights. I think that was back in October of last year. And then just sat on it for a couple months, had a lot of work to do. And then as this year progressed, suddenly things started clicking. And I was listening to it more, and I was getting other ideas for different things. And then the project in and of itself just kind of materialized. And it would lead into one other melody that I'd go, oh, I could build a song around this and this and this. And the way my process works is all very pocketed. It's all like, if I get in the pocket, I am going to be obsessive and recording and mixing and doing all of this stuff for like 3 to 4 months straight. It'll be every day. It'll be, I can't really focus on anything else. I eat really poorly. I don't exercise. It's bad. But that was the same thing with this album. It was, I think, around June. It just kind of all started to come together and went from June until I want to say mid-September, which I don't know how many months that is. Is that 3 months? Just about? Just over? I don't know.
June, July, August, September, 4 months, my friend.
Oh, 4 months. So it's been, I guess you could say, a solid 4-month chunk of incessant, obsessive, unhealthy work.
Believe me, I know the feeling, and putting yourself into your work. It's tough and it's tempting. It's it's very hard to pull yourself out.
Yes. Yeah. But that's the thing, I guess. Thankfully, I usually know when I'm spent. I usually know when I'm done. When I'm sitting there and I'm going, there's no more sounds coming out of my fingertips. I can't do anymore. I'm dry. The whole well's gone dry, and that's happened every single time. And this time it was 8 tracks, and I called it. I said that's just about enough. I think we're done here. Oh, the rest is going to be filler, and I don't like filler.
Me neither. You can tell on my music reviews, I'm very hard on artists when they put in filler.
Yes, I'm with you. No more filler. Take the filler out.
And sometimes when it's when I'm reviewing them on Apple Music, when they post it on Apple Music and I see some popular songs, I'm like, wait a minute, why are this song's popular than this song? And it doesn't make sense because that song's much better.
Human taste is something that I have realized I have no control over, just like a lot of things in my life. So I try to just forget about it.
Awesome. I would like to talk with you about half of your compositions, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Now, just to let you guys know, Atticus released "We Will Endure the Long Nights," which is really good. So I'd love to hear the story behind that.
So that one, it was the first thing I recorded. I just kind of sat down and was experimenting with a bunch of different sounds I had at my disposal on my keyboard, and just kind of diving into a big orchestral side that I'm still kind of new to. But had always, I'm a guy who usually wears his inspirations on his sleeve, and I'm pretty unapologetic about it. And I think this album is the most unapologetically me album, and that I'm not stealing from other people, but I am very much imitating a lot of just what I grew up listening to, and giving my kind of, I don't even know how to explain it. Listening to the album back, it all sounds very familiar to me, but I would understand how it sounds completely not at all to a lot of people. But "We Will Endure the Long Nights" was very much a Vaughan Williams-y, Edward Elgar symphonic journey with a little bit of kind of modern alternative swing I added at the end of it, because I like just combining different eras of sound, and this one was a swing for the fences in terms of just trying to throw as much inspiration into one song as I possibly could. And it ended up being kind of the launch pad for every other song on this album, because it gave me kind of the theme, the sound that I wanted to extrapolate and build upon for the rest of the record.
I gotta say, some of these songs are you can put them in a Nolan film, you can put them in an MCU film. It feels very Hans Zimmer-like.
It's all very cinematic. It definitely is. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it reminded me when some of the names that came up with me of the composers, it was listening to, okay, I see Williams hit here, I see Hans Zimmer here, note here, I see a John Williams. I said not John Williams, Danny Elfman here.
Yeah, a little bit Thomas Newman, a little bit Johnny Greenwood. Yeah, I mean, thank you. It's very nice, but I mean, go figure. The actor instrumentalist makes very film soundy contemporary music. It's I don't think I'm shocking anybody, but it's nice of you to say.
I gotta say, the Hunter would be really good in the Marvel Universe.
Really? Oh, wow, that's cool. You think? With who? In whose movie?
Well, it's very tough, because the thing is, if you want to go on a mental thing, I would say Doctor Strange when he's meditating, or if there's a moment with the Guardians of the Galaxy you can put in there. But but like the same time, I'm like, okay, Hunter and where Blade maybe a little bit with Werewolf by Night.
Maybe. I don't know. I've never looked at these songs through any sort of superhero lens, so I think I'm going to leave that up to you. I'm guessing.
You're talking to one of the kings of pop culture and superheroes.
What am I thinking?
All right, so let's talk about the story of the Hunter.
So the Hunter, yeah, that was pretty early on. A mercifully pretty quick concept that just kind of poured itself out, and I think I just recorded it in a day and put it all together. And I was like, "Yep, that's it. That's the intro to the album." Because it also kind of doubly serves as I put an album out last year called The Pantomime, which was kind of a rumination on essentially COVID, or at the very least, like the pandemic years through a weird sort of mythologized lens. And a lot of the sounds and a lot of the feel, I think, come in through the Hunter. And so I like the idea of having, an album from last year end and then a new one begin with similar sounds, a similar feeling, but also one that serves as a transportive device into the new sound that we're working with. And so, yeah, very much so. It's just exactly what kind of maybe coming over to my place and listening to me play the piano and noodling around. It's very much a noodly song. It's very much just kind of improvised. But yeah, I think also as a song that bleeds into the next track, I think the two of them work very well together as kind of a musical yin and yang almost. And I like it. I like all the songs of this album. It's weird. There's not one that I'm like scared of. I usually get scared of my songs, but these ones I just like listening to. They're very calming.
Absolutely. They're extremely calming. That guy's a beautiful boy. I was like thinking, is this like a thing that belongs to Mr. Holland's opus?
Mr. Who?
Holland. Mr. Holland's opus.
Mr. Holland's opus.
Haven't you heard that movie? It's with it's about a music teacher.
I see. I'm a movies guy. I feel like I should actually know this movie. I've never heard of this movie. Who's in it?
Okay, hold on a second. Mr. Holland Opus, because it's one of my brother's favorite films.
Dang.
It's Richard Dreyfuss as
Nice.
Glenn Holland. So he's basically a composer that believes that he will eventually have to write a piece of music, but however, he's taken a job at a Oregon high school, and all throughout the years we see him teaching and like all of his life's challenges and everything.
Wow, I gotta check that out. I'm a big Dreyfuss head.
Yeah, Richard Dreyfuss. It's 1995. It's 2 hour and 23 musical performance. It features Jean Louisa Kelly and then also Terrence Howard's in it as well.
Jeez. Okay, I'm gonna put that on my list. Thank you.
Alrighty, so Beautiful Boy.
Yes, Beautiful Boy. I guess I'll just talk about it. That's the last song I recorded as part of the record. And again, was just came out of an experimental sense. I was playing around with a lot of sounds. Suddenly, this weird dissonant melody came to me. I'm a huge Sigur Rós fan. And so I couldn't help that while playing this, I was going like, yeah, this is very Icelandic. This is absolutely that. But for as unapologetic as I've been about the inspirations that I'm taking advantage of for this album, I just kind of let it flow and wanted to see where it went. But in terms of an actual, because it's funny making instrumental songs and then having to put names to them. That is such a long, arduous process where I'll just kind of sit with something for a while, then eventually like I'll be able to put a name to a feeling and it'll just make sense. But this one was, as soon as I finished it, it was like, boom, that's the name. And for some reason, I don't know what it is, call it nostalgia, call it a weird deja vu sense, but all I picture when listening to that song is my dog that passed away 2 years ago. He lived to 13. His name was Slim. And for some reason, every time I listen to that song and in playing it, regardless of how kind of technologically dissonant and unstructured it is, I just picture that dude on the beach just having the time of his life. And I don't know how to really explain it other than, this album is very much thematically about grief and loss and moving forward. in spite of whatever ailments you might be carrying. That was just something that immediately jumped out. That was one of the saddest times of my life when that little guy passed. But to be able to compose something that to me very much feels like him is a blessing, and I'm very glad it came to me and that it's on the album.
And we're very glad to have that on the album.
Thanks, Jake.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So the final song I want to talk to you about is Petals.
Oh, you want to talk Petals? Oh, that's exciting. So Petals is cool. That's all I have to say about that. Petals is awesome. Petals, I think, is probably, if you were to try to explain or really give like an introductory song to somebody to be like, oh, you should listen to this Atticus guy. And then they're like, well, what, like, give me a song as an example. I would think that would be the one that people would send. I think it's just a really good combination of the very kind of dark and swoony chord changes that I love doing, mixed with just kind of this foreboding, moody background sense that you can't really escape. I like making music that challenges. I like making sounds that take you on a journey and resolve somewhere extremely satisfying. And I think that entire song is just one like 4-minute journey in building things up and leveling them out and building things up and leveling them out. It's like a dolphin going in and out of the ocean. It's like a lotus petal falling on a river and making ripples. The song is the ripples in a river made by a lotus flower. I don't know. It's cool, but I think that would be a good one to send to people if they haven't heard me before.
Awesome. I'll make sure you send Petals to
send Petals.
Alrighty. So let's start winding down our conversation. So you have over 144,000 Instagram followers, which is a lot. So how did you and your team make sure to create the content that was necessary to get to that to build that following?
I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know how social media works. I've had Instagram since I was 18, and sometimes people follow you, sometimes they don't. Here's the thing about me, and here's the thing. It's, I think, very clear. I have no idea how to promote myself. I've never been good at it. I've never been very comfortable with it. This album, this interview that we're doing right now, this is the most out of my comfort zone I have ever been when it comes to my own stuff. And the only reason why it's happening now is because I'm just really proud of the work. And for some reason that gives me maybe a misplaced sense of confidence. I don't really know yet. We'll see. But yeah, the social media aspect, 144,000. I don't know. I go through long bouts of barely doing anything on social media, not posting. I think all throughout COVID, I maybe made 1 or 2 posts, and that was it. And since the end of the summer and the beginning of this press tour, I've been all over it. I'm just throwing anything I want up there because who cares? But I assume probably come the winter again, it'll go back down and I won't care about it one more time because it's an evil thing. Social media is an evil. I see that 144K number and it just fills me with dread and despair that I'm going to let them down somehow someday. And I hate it. It's the worst. But in terms of how to get them, I don't know, eat your green vegetables and do jumping jacks.
Well, I think that's fabulous. And thank you so much for being so open with this tool, and trusting my platform.
Hey, no, thanks for having me. It's great. How many followers do you have on Instagram?
I wish I had a number that you had, but 3,400.
It's just a number. That's 3,000. That's a more than an auditorium. That would fill my performance of the Queen in Snow White back at St. John's Elementary. People would be lining up around the block, for God's sakes. It's scary. That number scares me.
Alrighty, and I think that number scared. That's like the size of a New York Comic Con audience.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah. So anyway, for that, so we got to start writing down our conversation. So where can they find your music? And also, where can they connect with you on social media? Is it just Instagram, or are there more?
Yeah, I mean, I got Twitter too, but that's even more of a place where I don't really do anything. So nobody's obligated to follow me on like whatever. I don't really do very interesting stuff. It's mostly just for like music promotion and the odd show that we do here and there. But yeah, Instagram, Twitter, yeah. My neighborhood, I could see you walking around in Toronto, and you can say hi, and we can have like a conversation with our mouths, like people used to do. That's sick. I love doing that. But otherwise, yeah, everything. The music's on Spotify. It's on Apple Music. It's available to stream. It's maybe one day I can put some stuff out on vinyl for all you vinyl freaks out there. I don't know. I know you guys are very passionate about that. But that's it. I'm just around.
All right, Atticus. So, Atticus, if you missed an episode of the Jake Steak with Jacob Elyachar podcast, visit our channels on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Deezer, Spotify, Podcast Addict, and Spreaker. It's Jake Steak with Jacob Elyachar, JACOBELYACHAR. Now, guys, are you on social media? Because I'm on social media too. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Jacob Elyachar, JACOBELYACHAR. And guys, Atticus, just to let you know, we are in the middle of almost wrapping up year 11 at jakes-shake.com.
Congratulations, Jake. That's huge.
Thank you so much.
I wish you all the best. Thanks so much for having me.
You're so welcome, Atticus. And guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, have a wonderful day. Bye.